The night was cold and quiet. A soft rain fell on the empty streets of downtown Los Angeles, turning the city lights into blurred streaks on the pavement. People hurried home under umbrellas, eager to escape the chill, but on a lonely rooftop, above all the noise and traffic, one girl stood at the edge, her bare feet pressing against the cold concrete. Her name was Emily, and she was only 22. Her eyes were red from crying, and her clothes clung to her skin, soaked by the rain. She held her arms tight around herself, trembling as she looked down at the streetlights far below. Emily had not always felt this broken. There was a time when she laughed so hard that her stomach hurt, when she dreamed of becoming an artist, when she believed in kindness and tomorrow. But life had chipped away at her piece by piece. Her father left when she was 10. Her mother drowned herself in bottles and pills. In college, she was mocked for her stutter. Her drawings called worthless by classmates who never cared to know her heart. Every day, the world reminded her she was invisible, a ghost in the middle of a crowd. Tonight, she decided she could not take it anymore. Nobody would miss her, she thought. Nobody would even notice she was gone. The darkness inside her whispered that jumping was the only way to feel peace. So she climbed up 12 flights of stairs, one by one, her heart heavy but certain. She felt a strange calm as she stepped onto the ledge. The wind pushed against her, cold and sharp. She closed her eyes and tried to remember a time when she felt warm, but the memories were thin, fragile like paper. Down on the street, Keanu Reeves had just finished filming a late-night scene for a small indie movie. He was tired and drenched, wearing a simple black jacket and jeans, blending in with the night. He was on his way to his old motorcycle, ready to ride back to his small apartment where a warm shower and silence waited. But as he put on his helmet, he felt something like a chill running down his spine. He looked up and saw a shape on the rooftop, a girl standing too close to the edge. In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Without thinking twice, Keanu ran across the street, splashing through puddles, his boots pounding against the wet concrete. He knew that look. He had seen it in the mirror many years ago when grief nearly pulled him under after he lost the love of his life and their unborn child. He knew the silence that screams inside your head, the pain that makes your chest feel like it will crack open. He would not let this girl feel alone in that final moment. Keanu reached the building entrance and pushed the door open. The old elevator was too slow, so he took the stairs two at a time, his breath quick but steady. By the time he reached the rooftop, his heart was pounding, but not from the run. It was the fear that he might be too late. When he pushed open the heavy door, the wind hit him first. Then he saw her, Emily. Her arms spread slightly as if she was about to fly. Her hair clung to her face, her eyes closed tight. She did not hear him step onto the rooftop. She did not feel his presence behind her. She only felt the emptiness waiting to catch her. Keanu did not yell. He knew better. His voice could startle her, push her over the edge, so he took a slow step forward, then another. He spoke softly, his words almost carried away by the wind. "Hey," he said, his voice gentle but clear. "I know it feels like you're alone up here, but you're not." Emily flinched, her eyes opened wide, and she turned her head slightly. When she saw him, her lips parted in surprise. Keanu Reeves, standing there in the rain, looking at her, like she mattered. "Don't come closer," she said, her voice breaking. "Please. I just want to end this." Keanu nodded. He kept his hands open at his sides, showing her he meant no harm. He stayed where he was, rain dripping from his hair onto his shoulders. "I won't move if you don't want me to," he said. "But can I stay with you, just for a moment? You don't have to do this alone." Tears filled Emily's eyes again. She wanted to scream that he did not understand, that nobody did. But something about his eyes made her feel seen for the first time in years. His eyes were kind, but they held a darkness too, like he knew pain as deep as hers. "Why?" she asked, her voice small, almost lost in the wind. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." Keanu let out a slow breath. He looked up at the cloudy sky, then back at her. "You're right. I don't know you yet. But maybe that's the point. Maybe tonight, we're supposed to know each other. Maybe I'm supposed to remind you that your story isn't done. Emily shook her head. Sobbing now, you don't know what it's like. It hurts so much, I can't carry it anymore. Keanu took another slow step forward. His boots made a soft sound against the wet rooftop. I do know what it's like, he said, his voice steady but rough. I've felt that pain. I've lost people I love. I've sat alone in the dark, wondering if I could survive one more day. Sometimes I still feel that darkness, but I learned something. Pain is a liar. It tells you that you're alone, that you're worthless, that tomorrow will never be different. But pain is wrong. Emily stared at him, the city lights flickering behind her like tiny stars. Her feet inched closer to the edge, but her eyes stayed locked on his. What if it never gets better? She whispered. Keanu took one more step, close enough now that he could reach out if she slipped. He did not rush her. He let his words fill the space between them. Sometimes it doesn't get better overnight, he said softly. Sometimes it takes years. But every breath you take, every second you fight, you're proving that pain didn't win. And one day, you'll look back and see how strong you really were. Emily's shoulders shook. The wind blew her hair across her face, but she did not brush it away. Her eyes searched his, looking for hope, for a reason to believe him. But I'm so tired, she said. Keanu nodded. I know. I won't lie to you. It's okay to be tired, but you don't have to fight alone. Let me help you. Let me stand here with you until the morning comes. Please, just give me tonight. A tear slipped down Emily's cheek and mixed with the rain. For a moment, she looked down again at the street far below. The darkness seemed to call her name. But then she looked back at Keanu, and in his eyes, she saw not a movie star, but a man who understood her pain. A man who was willing to stand with her in the cold, no matter how broken she felt. She took a shaky breath, her toes curled back from the ledge, her knees gave out, and she sank to the rooftop, sobbing into her hands. Keanu moved quickly, kneeling beside her, wrapping his jacket around her shoulders. He did not speak more words. He knew sometimes silence is the only comfort. He held her, the rain falling around them, washing away the night's shadows. And somewhere deep inside Emily's heart, a tiny light flickered, small and fragile, but alive. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. She felt that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow could be different. The rooftop felt quieter now. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, tapping softly on the concrete like a heartbeat finding its calm again. Emily sat on the cold ground, knees pulled to her chest, her wet hair sticking to her face. Keanu stayed close, his arm draped lightly around her shoulders, careful not to hold too tight, as if he knew how fragile she felt inside. Neither of them spoke for a while. There was no rush to fill the silence. The city below kept moving, cars passing, neon signs blinking. Life did not stop for broken hearts. But up there, on that rooftop, time slowed down for the two souls trying to find hope in the middle of pain. Finally, Emily lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but they held a question that had been buried deep inside her for years. Why? Did you come up here? She asked, her voice hoarse but honest. You could have just walked away. Keanu looked at her with the same calm eyes. He wiped a strand of hair from her cheek. Because once, I wished someone would find me before I fell. I didn't want you to feel that same emptiness. Emily's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but doubt still clung to her. But you're famous. You have everything. Money, fans, movies. You could have been anywhere tonight. Why would you care about someone like me? Keanu let out a quiet breath, his hand resting on his knee. You see the movies, the cameras, the interviews, but you don't see the nights when I can't sleep because my heart aches so much I think it will stop. I lost my best friend when I was young. My baby girl was born still. I buried the woman I loved. I've stood in the shower for hours, hoping the water could wash away the pain. The world thinks money and fame fix everything, but it doesn't. Pain comes for all of us. Emily looked down, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. I just feel so empty, like I'm not good enough for anything. Keanu leaned closer, lowering his voice. You are enough, Emily. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be strong all the time. Being here tonight, staying when it hurts, that's strength. Emily felt her chest tighten. She wanted to trust his words, but the scars inside her felt too deep. I don't even know where to start. My mother hates me. I can't keep a job. My friends stopped answering my calls. It's like I'm a ghost nobody wants to see. Keanu's eyes glistened under the rooftop lights. Then let's start right here, he said softly. With me seeing you, with you seeing yourself. You are not invisible to me. She blinked, tears threatening again. The wind blew, but it felt less cold now. Why does it hurt so much to be alive? She whispered. Keanu looked up at the sky, raindrops catching on his lashes. Because you have a heart that feels deeply. Pain reminds us that we care, and caring means you have love inside you, even if the world tries to crush it. He paused, then asked gently, do you trust me enough to stand up? I want to take you somewhere. Emily stiffened. Where? Someplace warm, he said, giving a faint smile. Someplace where you can sit and breathe without fear of falling. She hesitated. Her legs felt heavy, like they belonged to someone else, but she looked into his eyes, and in them, she saw a promise that she would not have to face the night alone. She gave a small nod. Keanu rose first, offering his hand. She took it slowly, her fingers trembling. He helped her stand, steadying her when her knees wobbled. Her clothes were soaked, her shoes slipping on the wet concrete, but with his arm around her shoulders, she felt like maybe she wouldn't break apart this time. They walked to the rooftop door, the city still humming below them. When they reached the stairwell, Emily paused and glanced back at the ledge. A shiver ran through her. Keanu touched her hand. You don't have to look back, he said. You're walking forward now. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Step by step, they descended the stairs. The echo of their footsteps a gentle reminder that she was not alone. On the street, Keanu guided her under an awning where his motorcycle waited. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it tighter around her, then waved to a small diner across the street, its neon sign flickering in the rain. Do you like pancakes? He asked, his voice softer now. Emily's lips twitched, almost a smile. I guess. I haven't had them in a long time. Good, Keanu said. Because I'm buying you a stack as big as your head. We'll sit in that booth and drink hot chocolate until the sun comes up. A tiny laugh escaped her, shaky but real. She felt the first spark of warmth deep in her chest, something she thought she had lost forever. They crossed the street together, Keanu keeping her close, shielding her from the last drops of rain. Inside the diner, the smell of coffee and syrup wrapped around them like a blanket. They slid into a booth by the window. The waitress gave them a curious look but did not ask questions. Keanu ordered for both of them, pancakes, eggs, and 2 mugs of hot chocolate with extra whipped cream. As they waited, Emily watched the steam rise from her cup. For the first time in years, she did not feel the urge to run or hide. She felt seen, she felt safe, and deep inside, the smallest part of her heart began to believe that maybe her story was not finished yet. Inside the small diner, the world felt softer, as if the walls themselves held back the cold night outside. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon drifted through the air, mixing with the quiet hum of a jukebox playing an old love song. Emily sat across from Keanu, her wet hair now tucked behind her ears, his jacket heavy on her shoulders like a shield against the dark thoughts. Still trying to sneak back in, Keanu stirred his coffee slowly, his eyes watching her, not with pity, but with a gentle respect. He did not rush her to speak. He just let her sit there, holding the warm mug with both hands, letting her breathe. You can talk about anything, he said finally, his voice soft enough to blend with the music. Or nothing at all. This is your safe place tonight. Emily's fingers traced the rim of her cup. Her eyes darted around the diner, a tired cook flipping pancakes behind the counter, a young couple whispering in a corner booth, an old man reading a newspaper that looked older than him. For a moment, it felt unreal, like she was looking at life through a window she was never allowed to open. Now she was inside, and she wasn't sure what to do with the warmth. It feels strange, she said at last, her voice small but clear. Sitting here, like I'm not supposed to be here. Keanu leaned forward, his elbows on the table. Why not? She swallowed, looking down at her chipped nails. Because I thought tonight would be my last night. I didn't plan anything else. I didn't imagine pancakes or coffee. I didn't think anyone would sit with me." Keanu gave a faint smile, his eyes kind but steady. "That's the thing about life. Sometimes it surprises you when you least expect it. Sometimes it throws a stranger in your path to remind you that you're not done yet." The waitress came over and placed a plate in front of Emily, a mountain of fluffy pancakes, dripping with syrup, a pat of butter melting into golden rivers. Next to it sat a steaming cup of hot chocolate, topped with a swirl of whipped cream and tiny chocolate flakes. Emily stared at it, the warmth of the mug spreading through her cold fingers. "It looks too good to be real," she whispered. "Taste it," Keanu said, his smile growing. "Sometimes you have to remind your heart what sweet feels like." She picked up her fork and took a small bite. The syrup coated her tongue, the warmth melting the tight knot in her chest. For a few seconds, she closed her eyes, letting herself feel something simple and good. "When was the last time you ate a real meal?" Keanu asked gently. Emily's cheeks flushed. She shrugged. "I don't know, maybe 2 days ago. One spend more on cigarettes than food." "Stupid, huh?" Keanu shook his head. "Not stupid, just human. Pain makes us do things we don't understand. Sometimes it wants us to starve ourselves of the good things." Emily's eyes glistened with fresh tears. "Why do you care so much?" "You don't owe me anything." Keanu took a sip of his coffee, his eyes never leaving hers. "Maybe I don't owe you anything, but I choose to care. You matter, Emily, I see you. And if you ever forget that again, I'll remind you as many times as it takes." She looked down at her plate, her hand trembling. "But what if the darkness comes back tomorrow? What if I stand on another rooftop?" Keanu reached across the table, placing his warm hand over hers. "Then you call me, or you come here, or you go anywhere there's light. You don't have to fight the darkness alone." Emily's lips quivered. "But you don't even know me." Keanu's hand tightened just enough to make her feel his strength. "You're wrong. I know you in the ways that matter. You're brave. You're tired, but you're still here. You feel deeply, and that's not weakness. That's your gift." She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Everyone says I'm too much, too sad, too messy." Keanu leaned closer. "Then you find people who see your mess and love you anyway. People who stay when you're quiet, who hold you when you're loud, who remind you that you're not defined by your worst day." For the first time, Emily let out a small laugh, broken but real. "Do you have those people?" Keanu's eyes softened, a shadow passing through them. "I'm still finding them too. We all are. Life is not about having it all figured out. It's about standing up, even when your legs feel like they'll break. It's about holding someone else's hand when you're both afraid." Outside the diner, the rain stopped completely. The first hint of dawn touched the sky, painting it with a soft gray light. Emily noticed it through the window, her breath catching. "It's morning," she whispered. Keanu nodded. "Yes, and you're still here." She looked at him, her eyes wide. "Does that mean something?" Keanu squeezed her hand gently. "It means you won. You chose to stay when every part of you wanted to disappear. That's courage, Emily." She wiped her face with the napkin, sniffing. "I don't feel strong. You don't have to feel it to be it," Keanu said, his voice like a soft blanket. "Sometimes surviving is enough." They sat there a while longer, talking about nothing and everything: music, childhood dreams, her drawings, his favorite books. Every word, every shared smile, stitched her heart back together, one fragile thread at a time. When they finally stepped out of the diner, the city felt different. People were waking up, taxis honking, coffee shops opening. The world looked the same, but Emily felt it wasn't. Not anymore. As they stood on the sidewalk, Keanu turned to her. "I want you to promise me something." She looked at him, her hands tucked into the sleeves of his jacket. "What?" "Promise me that when the darkness comes back, because it will, sometimes, you'll remember tonight. Remember that you don't have to face it alone." Emily nodded, her eyes shining in the early light. "I promise." Keanu smiled, the kind of smile that makes broken things feel whole. "Good. Now let's get you home. You have a new story to write." And as they walked down the street together, side by side, the city's heartbeat felt softer somehow, like it was welcoming her back, not as a ghost, but as a girl brave enough to stay. The sun climbed higher over the city, rushing soft gold across the rooftops and waking up the streets below. Cars honked. People bustled past with coffee cups and tired eyes, unaware of the small miracle that had taken place just hours before. Emily walked beside Keanu, her steps slow but steadier than they had felt in a long time. The cold wind of the night had faded, replaced by a gentle warmth that made her shiver in a different way. Keanu kept his hands in his jacket pockets, glancing at her every few moments to make sure she was all right. Every now and then, Emily caught him looking, and a shy smile tugged at her lips. It felt strange. This new safety. She was used to people passing by her like she was invisible. Now, she felt like someone was really seeing her for the first time. They stopped at a small corner park where a few birds pecked at crumbs near a wooden bench. Keanu motioned for her to sit. The bench was cold, but the morning sun touched her face, warming her skin as she pulled her sleeves over her hands. "How are you feeling?" Keanu asked, settling next to her. He leaned back, eyes half closed, as if he were soaking in the quiet. Emily shrugged, staring at her shoes. "Different. Tired. Like I ran a marathon in my head." Keanu chuckled softly. "You did, and you made it through. That's something to be proud of." Her eyes welled up again, but the tears felt different this time, lighter somehow. "I don't know what to do now," she admitted. "I feel like I should know. Like there's a rule book I missed." Keanu shook his head gently. "There's no rule book, Emily. There's just you, and the next step, and then the next one. Maybe you won't have all the answers today, maybe you won't tomorrow, but every day you stay, you give yourself another chance to find them." She looked at him, searching his face. "Do you still have days when it hurts, even now?" Keanu's smile faded a little, replaced by something deeper. "Yes," he said honestly. "Some nights are heavy. Some days, I still feel that empty space inside me, but I learned that it's okay to feel it. I don't fight it alone anymore. I let people in." Emily chewed her lip, thinking, "What if I don't have anyone to let in?" Keanu leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Then, you start with one person. Maybe a counselor, maybe a friend, maybe someone who's been there, who won't run away when you're not okay. You build your circle, brick by brick." She picked at the hem of his jacket sleeve that she still wore. "And what about you? Who's in your circle?" Keanu smiled faintly. "It's smaller than people think. I have a few good friends. I have people who remind me I'm more than the worst thing that's happened to me. People who see me, not the movie star." She studied him carefully, the man who had stood on a rooftop with her, who had sat in a diner until the world felt safe. "Again, can you be in my circle?" she asked, her voice trembling. His eyes softened. "I already am," he said, touching her shoulder lightly. "But I want you to have more than just me. Promise me you'll reach out. There are people whose whole job is to help you carry this weight." Emily nodded, though her chest still ached with fear of what tomorrow might hold. "It's hard to believe I deserve help." Keanu looked up at the sky, the clouds drifting slowly like stories waiting to be told. "That's what pain wants you to believe, that you don't deserve good things. But you do. You deserve love, kindness, laughter, pancakes at sunrise. You deserve to see what happens next." She let out a shaky laugh. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple," he admitted. "It's messy. You'll have days when you hate everything. You'll have nights when you think you can't make it, but you will. You did last night. You'll do it again." The birds fluttered around their feet, pecking at a half-eaten piece of bread. Emily watched them for a moment, her heart strangely calm. "What if I mess up?" she asked quietly. Keanu tilted his head, a playful smile breaking through. "Then you mess up, and you try again. There's no scoreboard for being human. There's only the trying." They sat in silence for a while, the city waking up around them. People walked dogs, a mother pushed a stroller past the bench, and the world moved as if it hadn't almost lost a girl to the darkness the night before. Keanu pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and scribbled something on it. He handed it to her. "My friend runs a support group downtown. It's not fancy, just people sitting in a circle, talking, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing. They'll welcome you." Emily held the paper like it was a tiny lifeline. "What? If they think I'm too broken, they won't." Keanu said firmly. Because they're just like you. They're still here. They understand. She tucked the paper carefully into her pocket. For the first time in so long, she felt like maybe she could see past the next few hours. Maybe even tomorrow. Maybe. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu leaned back, watching the sunlight dance on her face. Don't thank me yet, he said with a soft grin. Wait until you've eaten at least 10 more stacks of pancakes. She laughed, really laughed this time, the sound sharp and bright in the morning air. It felt like a promise, fragile, but real. And as they stood up from the bench and walked towards the bus stop, the world felt wider, fuller. Emily knew the darkness would not disappear overnight. It would follow her, sometimes closer than she liked. But now she carried something she didn't have before, the memory of a rooftop, a warm diner, and a man who reminded her that staying was an act of courage. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to keep her moving forward. The days that followed were not as easy as Emily hoped. The morning after the rooftop felt like waking up in a different life. But the shadows did not vanish just because the sun rose. They lingered, slipping through her thoughts. When she was alone in her small apartment, whispering the same old lies, that she was too broken, too much trouble, not worth the kindness she had been given. The piece of paper Keanu gave her sat on her bedside table. She looked at it every morning, but could not bring herself to make the call. She told herself she would do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow would come, and fear would wrap around her chest. Like heavy chains. On the third day, Emily sat on her worn couch, staring at the walls covered in her unfinished sketches. Each drawing was a piece of her heart, but she had stopped believing they meant anything. Her mind drifted back to the rooftop, to the weight in her bones, the wind at her back, and then she remembered Keanu's voice, steady, patient, telling her that pain was a liar. She picked up the phone, her fingers trembling so hard she almost dropped it. She dialed the number written in his careful handwriting. Each ring made her heart race, her breath shallow. When someone finally answered, her voice caught in her throat. Hello? Said a warm voice, a woman who sounded like she smiled even when nobody could see it. Double quotes. Hi, I'm Emily. Keanu gave me this number. He said you could help. The woman's tone softened, as if wrapping Emily in a blanket she could not see. Hi Emily, my name is Margaret. I'm so glad you called. You're safe now. You're not alone anymore. Emily burst into tears, words tumbling out in broken pieces, about the rooftop, the rain, the pancakes, the tiny hope that scared her more than the darkness. Margaret listened, not interrupting, not judging. When Emily finished, her cheeks damp and her throat raw, Margaret spoke in a voice that made her feel small, but strong at the same time. You did the bravest thing, Emily. You chose to stay. Now let's keep you here, okay? Come to our meeting tonight. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. Just come. That evening, Emily stood outside the community hall, staring at the faded sign that read Hope Circle. Her feet felt stuck to the pavement, her chest tight. She almost turned away, but then she heard laughter drifting through the open door, the sound of people who had felt the same pain, but had not let it destroy them. Inside, the room was simple, mismatched chairs in a circle, a pot of stale coffee on a small table, paper cups stacked beside it. About 10 people sat scattered around, their eyes tired but kind. When Emily stepped in, every head turned toward her. She froze, her mouth dry. Margaret stood up and walked over, her hug soft and real. Everyone. This is Emily, she said gently. She's new here. Let's make her feel at home. Emily sat down in an empty chair. She did not speak at first. She listened. A man with a beard talked about losing his brother. A woman shared how she still left her porch light on for a son who never came home. They cried. They laughed at old memories. They spoke words that felt raw but true. When it was her turn, Emily almost passed, but then she remembered Keanu's words, you don't have to feel strong to be strong. She cleared her throat. Hi, I'm Emily, she said, her voice shaking. 3 nights ago, I almost didn't stay, but I'm here now, and I want to keep staying. The circle clapped quietly, not the loud applause of a performance, but the warm, gentle sound of people who understood that staying was a victory worth celebrating. After the meeting, Emily stepped outside into the cool night air. She looked up at the sky, the stars hidden behind city lights. For once, the darkness did not feel like an enemy. It felt like a soft blanket, holding the quiet promise that not every shadow wanted to swallow her whole. A week passed. Then, two. Each day brought new battles, mornings when she could not get out of bed, afternoons when the weight in her chest made her want to disappear. But every time, she heard Keanu's voice in her head, reminding her that pain was not her whole story. One Saturday, Emily found herself back at the diner. She sat in the same booth where Keanu had ordered pancakes for her. She held her mug of hot chocolate. Staring out the window at the street where they had stood that night, she felt a tap on her shoulder. When she turned, there he was, Keanu, wearing the same old jacket. Hair a little longer now, eyes just as kind. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Emily's single quotes face lit up with a smile that made her cheeks ache. "Please." They sat in silence for a moment, both of them holding their mugs like anchors in the noisy world around them. "How's your circle?" Keanu asked. Emily grinned shyly. "Bigger now. I go every week. I don't talk every time, but I listen. I feel less alone." Keanu leaned back, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "That's all I wanted for you, to know you never have to stand on that ledge by yourself again." Emily looked at him, really looked at him. "Why do you do this? Help people you barely know." Keanu took a sip of his coffee, his gaze drifting to the window. "Because someone once told me the pain we survive becomes a light for someone else. If my scars can help someone see tomorrow, then maybe they're worth it." Emily's throat tightened. "Does it ever go away?" He turned back to her, his voice low but full of something strong. "The pain changes. Some days it's loud, some days it's quiet. But you get stronger, you build a life around it, and sometimes you find joy in places you thought you'd never see it again." She reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. "Thank you for not letting me go." Keanu smiled, a real, warm smile that made the whole diner feel brighter. "Thank you for staying." They sat there together, two people with different scars but the same hope, that staying was worth it, that the pain could be survived, that maybe, just maybe, the next sunrise would feel lighter than the last. Spring came quietly to the city, warming the sidewalks where cold rain had once pooled in broken gutters. The trees along Emily's street budded with small green leaves, a reminder that life could come back, even when it seemed impossible. For Emily, every day felt like she was planting seeds in a garden she thought had died long ago. She still carried the darkness inside her. Some mornings it woke up before she did, whispering old doubts in the spaces between her thoughts. But now, the darkness was not as strong as it used to be. She had her circle at Hope, where people called her name when she walked in, saving her a seat next to Margaret. She had late-night calls when the shadows grew too loud. And she had something else. To her. One Saturday morning, Emily spread her old sketches across her small living room floor. Pages curled at the edges, smudged with pencil marks from years ago when she believed they were worthless. Now, looking at them, she saw them differently. Every drawing was proof she had survived that moment. Every broken line, every unfinished face was a piece of a story that was still being written. She taped the pages together until they covered the wall. She spent hours adding to them. A streak of color here, a new line there. Her hands moved with purpose. Her mind focused not on what was wrong, but on what was becoming. A week later, she brought her portfolio to the community center, where she now volunteered twice a week. She stood at the front of a small group, teenagers who sat slouched in folding chairs, their eyes distant, shoulders heavy with the weight she knew too well. She took a breath, her heart racing. Her hands trembled as she held up her oldest sketch. "This was me," she said. "I drew this the night I almost gave up. I thought my life was over. But someone reminded me that pain is not the end. It's just a part of the story." The teenagers shifted, curiosity sparking in eyes that had seen too much sadness for their young years. Emily pointed to her newest drawing, a figure standing at the edge of a roof, the sunrise behind them, bright and fierce. "This is me now," she said, "still here, still drawing, still staying." One girl, maybe 15, raised her hand. Her voice small. But what if the pain never goes away? Emily knelt in front of her, their eyes level. Then you hold someone's hand when it feels too heavy. You find your circle. Even if it's only one person at first, you don't hide your scars. You use them to help someone else see the sunrise. Later that evening, Emily sat in her tiny kitchen, flipping through a notebook where she wrote down every promise she made to herself. Call Margaret when the dark thoughts come back. Draw every day, even if it's messy. Never stand alone on a rooftop again. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She answered on the second ring. Keanu's voice filled her ear, warm and calm. So, how's my artist friend tonight? Emily laughed softly, twirling a pencil in her hand. Exhausted but good. I spoke to some kids. Today, I think I helped one of them stay. Keanu's silence felt like a smile. That's how it works. He said, you shine your light into someone else's darkness, even if yours flickers sometimes. Do you think it will ever stop flickering? She asked. He took a slow breath on the other end. Maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe your light is strong because it flickers and keeps coming back. Emily closed her eyes, letting his words settle in her chest like a soft truth. Thank you, Keanu, for saving me. No, he said gently. Thank you for saving yourself. I just stood with you on the rooftop. You climbed down. That night, Emily sat by her window, looking out at the city that once felt too big, too cruel to hold her heart. Now, it felt like a place she could belong. Somewhere down the street, a bus rumbled past, carrying strangers who might be fighting their own darkness, never knowing they shared the world with a girl who stayed. In her lap, she balanced her sketchbook, pencil moving in slow, careful strokes. She drew a rooftop, a girl with arms outstretched, not falling, but reaching. Behind her, the sky glowed with a rising sun, and in the corner, a small figure stood watching, ready to catch her if she slipped, ready to remind her that the pain did not win. Emily breathed in the night air, her heartbeat calm, her soul stitched together with scars and second chances. And for the first time in years, she whispered to herself words she believed. I am here. I am still here. And that is enough.